haven't, but I've been aware of it. It's a high-profile event every year, and I think what's interesting this year, and it's the 30th anniversary of the event, is that it's obviously online in our brave new world. So actually, the accessibility of conferences generally is improved. So I have certainly increased over the last 9 months my attendance at conferences, and I think this is a great opportunity for everyone else to do the same. So I'm looking forward to joining this year's conference, and particularly at such an important time when there's so much to talk about. Building for Tomorrow, I think, is a really important debate about where the home building industry is going. So at a time when so much is going on, if you think even beyond the COVID pandemic, which seems to be all consuming at the moment, there's so many things that are strategically important to the future of the home building industry. So the opportunity to debate some of those big picture issues, I think, is hugely important. And BFT gives that platform to talk about issues, whether it is the whole debate about consumer quality and protections, whether it's about safety, whether it's about complex buildings, decarbonisation, modern methods of construction. Obviously, all of these things are parallel debates that we need to have in an informed way, with all of the important stakeholders in the industry coming together to understand what it means for how we have to evolve the way that we build new homes. So I'm likely to be talking about where I think the next steps are in the evolution of the MMC market. And it's clear that lots has been happening over the last few years, and we've made significant progress in seeing MMC elevate itself up the agenda, both in terms of the industry's awareness and adoption of MMC in its various forms, and also government's perspective on how important it sees MMC as a change agent for the industry. So I'm going to be talking about what I think those next steps are in terms of continuing that journey to maturity. And we're not at maturity yet. I think it's really important to recognise that we have a way to go, and our industry is notoriously cautious and conservative, and we need to understand what plotting a route to maturity looks like, and the NHBC's role actually in stewarding that through technical compliance and quality is critical. So I'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about the barriers that we have to navigate. I'll be talking a bit about where I think policy has gone and will continue to go to help accelerate that journey. I think, in terms of what modern methods of construction means to me, I think it's as simple as how MMC is now defined, and we have a formal definition of MMC, which actually NHBC was party to the working group I chaired with government in setting that out back in 2019. So 7 categories of MMC, ranging from modular construction through to panelised systems, through to sub-assemblies and components and digital site construction. So for me, MMC has to be looked at collectively in the round across all of those different types. It's not just about one thing, it's a variety of different things, and how the industry adopts MMC is quite clearly across that full range and spectrum of solutions. Well, I see the future of MMC as being this continuation of this journey towards maturity, and I think that will show itself in different ways. I think you're going to continue to see new disruptors enter the market. We've already seen that in the last 2 years or so, with some exciting developments in terms of new players on the pitch, including some new entrants from international home markets who are bringing best practice from their own core markets to the UK, which I think is fantastic. I think there's always a place for international collaboration. If we can take that learning and make it work in the UK, including creating British jobs, then that is the ideal situation. And I think that's what we're already starting to see, where we're transferring that intellectual property transfer is happening, and we're starting to see best practice come in from places like Japan and Sweden, where there's some really exciting platforms that are coming forward. I think you'll see the continuation of technology marking its role in the next generation of MMC. So I think it's really important to recognise modern methods is not just about building things in a factory in a traditional way. It's about manufacturing, and manufacturing inherently has the potential to use technology to generate those true long-term efficiencies that we're all hoping for, and quality and productivity and certainty. And I see technology continuing to evolve, whether it's digital design tools, digital manufacturing, digital on-site tools. And I think that's a really important bit of where MMC is going to move forward in the future, including probably a more varied model of delivery in terms of not just reliant on big super factories, but perhaps more distributed and diversified forms of manufacturing. Well, I think the pandemic, it's quite interesting to see how the MMC sector has fared compared to the traditional house building and construction sector. I think in some ways, both parts of the market have had common problems. So the most obvious issue being the security of supply chain and continuing delivery of materials. So some of the issues we saw last year in relation to when borders closed, at least for a time, a short period of time, affected the MMC and modular manufacturing market as much as it did traditional house builders. So when plasterboard ran out, it ran out as well for the factories producing off-site construction. So I don't think there was any sort of bulletproof or exemption from those broader issues around supply chains and the global markets we now operate in. But the other thing that I think is very clear is that when we got back to work on construction sites after that initial hiatus, and we all had to learn how to work safely in terms of being COVID secure, that clearly had an impact on the ability to deploy labour on construction sites and house building sites. And what MMC has enabled is some of that labour intensity to be reduced. So it's enabled productivity to be maintained, or the impact mitigated by moving some of those processes into more controlled environments in factories where social distancing and the like can be observed in an easier way. So I think MMC has become seen as part of a solution to mitigating the impact of COVID, certainly in the medium term. But I think it's also opening people's eyes to the potential of MMC beyond COVID in a normal environment. I think the NHBC Accepts accreditation platform is a really important evolution in this maturity that I speak about, of how we need to move forward with MMC. Critical element of what we need to deal with is building confidence in the new systems and methods of construction that are coming forward, and that implicitly involves accreditation, it involves technical compliance and checking. It needs to involve the certainty that innovation is not going to prevent the ability to procure a warranty and to in turn achieve mortgageability or financing or insurance for completed schemes. And NHBC accepts coming into that market of assurance, if you like, of innovative construction and manufacturing is an important step. As a big player in that warranty market, it would not be complete unless NHBC had a role to play alongside others in maturing that market. And I think it's been a really, really healthy step forward. I applaud NHBC for their leadership in recognising the future potential of MMC and wanting to nurture it in a responsible way, so the quality and technical standards come first, and the innovation is done in a responsible way. So I think it's a really important step. I think it's just to hear what other commentators and industry leaders have to say about these big issues. To be able to debate these big ticket items of safety, complexity, innovation, carbon, all of these big picture issues are so important and have potentially such a dramatic effect on impacting how we design and build and occupy homes in the future. I think it's a great opportunity just to hear what others have got to say, who are experts in their respective fields, and to sort of take that away and apply that in our own fields of work. So yeah, it's about, for me, it will be about learning and sharing knowledge in many respects.